Aleutian Live 2026, April 19th through 22nd in beautiful Denver, Colorado, advancing infinite possibilities. And it's higher education without limits. Don't just keep up with change, lead it. Higher education leaders from around the world are coming together at Aleutian Live 2026. Across 4 unforgettable days, discover new ways to meet students where they are and make the most of your technology through inspiring sessions and hands-on demos. Together, we're leveraging AI to create deeper human connections, support every student's journey, and open doors to lifelong learning. See you in Denver. Register now at elive.aleutian.com. It's going to be
amazing.
Higher Ed PodCon is the world's premier conference for podcasting and higher education. Higher Ed PodCon 2 is happening July 16 and 17, 2026 on the campus of Cuyahoga Community College in Cleveland. Join hosts, producers, and campus communicators from across the country and level up your show. Learn more and register at higheredpodcon.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back with you here in year 7 of the EdUp Experience podcast operations, as we've transformed from not only a podcast, but to a full media company. We're publishing articles that our colleagues across higher education write on EdUp editorials. So if you have an important story to tell and you want to write it up, we'll publish it and send it out to our worldwide podcast audience. We thought, could we get to 1 million downloads this year? I don't know. We're approaching 600,000 downloads of this podcast over our 7 years or 6 years in operation. That feels pretty good, especially when we're talking about a niche industry like higher ed, right? Like your average listener, my wife, for example, or my mom, they're like, yeah, I've listened to that, but I mean, it's all higher ed stuff you guys talk about. So who likes to talk about higher ed stuff? Higher ed people, higher ed professionals. And the work that we do to serve students is even more important today than it has been ever, especially as the idea of workforce takes more shape and gets more attention. And what are students going to be doing if they take our programs? Non-credit, credit, doesn't matter. What's that professional pathway look like? I was actually at AACCWDI, the American Association of Community Colleges Workforce Development Institute. Say that 3 times fast. Very recently. So when you hear this episode, it will probably be a few weeks out of that. But new CEO, Dr. Darian Pollard, a friend of mine who I just had on the podcast and put her episode out, said something like, she's trying to make a point, and she said there's 1.4 billion people in China. There's about 350 to 400 million in the U.S. And that if China just educated 1/3 or quarter of its workforce, we would have to educate every single person in the United States. And when you actually sit with that as a statistic, it's actually mind-blowing to think about how important it is that we do what we need to do, which is educate the average person, educate every person, in fact, and give them an opportunity for a better life. Somebody that's with me today that's going to talk about the work that she's doing at her college to do just that, and educate every single person in the U.S. Maybe she's going to be the one to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring in right now. She's Dr. Deborah Preston. She is president at Mercer County Community College. Debbie, welcome to the mic. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. And, you know, we always like to level set for our guest and assume there's somebody out there that hasn't heard of Mercer County Community College, or MCHIP-C. I mean, I don't know what you have to give me, what acronym you use. So tell us where you are, who you serve, and how you serve them.
Yeah, so we call ourselves MCCC, which I think is the hardest possible way to say that. But you know what? That's what we do. So we are located in New Jersey in Mercer County, and we have 2 campuses. One is in West Windsor, which is pretty close to Princeton, New Jersey, and Princeton University. So there's a whole certain vibe on that campus. And then we have a campus in downtown Trenton, New Jersey, which is, in fact, our older campus. It's been there since 1890, but the smaller campus, and the campus where we really feel a lot of responsibility to make sure we're providing opportunities that students need for economic mobility and for higher education. So we have an interesting sort of best of both worlds going on with our colleges. We serve about 6,000 students a year.
Amazing.
How does that, so why more, maybe not more, but why a different level of responsibility to Trenton? Is the vibe is education all day over there by Princeton and it's just so not, like, what's the vibe difference?
I think the responsibility is that Trenton is really a city that has struggled economically for over a decade, couple of decades now. And I firmly believe that education is one of the ways you can turn a city around. And I also understand that those students who live in a economically depressed city don't always have the resources or the time or the knowledge that they need to get a higher degree or credential. So, our students in West Windsor, which is our larger campus, we love those students. Most of those students are not first generation. Right. A lot of those students, they've got support, and our
somebody around them has said education.
Yes, absolutely. And they come from the better funded high schools, which we know makes a difference, and
big,
et cetera, et cetera. The students in Trenton, we need to provide all the support we can. And it's important not only for the students, but for the whole city of Trenton. I said in an interview one time that I come to work to have fun and save the world. So I'm a start in Trenton.
I like that. Now, when you say the students need all the support they can get, that's not just retention support. I mean, it's way beyond what higher ed originally was engineered to do, which was
absolutely
call you if you miss class or tell you need to pay your bill if you're late. What does that mean? It's student services.
It's transportation, it's clothing, it's food, it's housing. Like I think most community colleges in the country, we have a food pantry, and we have opportunities for students to access clothing in different drives that we do partnering with Dress for Success. But it's also convincing those students that they are college material. And in many ways, it's getting those students in the door in the first place. And we have some very robust, federally funded TRIO programs, Gear Up, Upward Bound. A lot of schools have those. And those are really a lifeline for us to stay in touch with the community, with the schools, the middle schools and the high schools, because we want the students in Trenton to understand that they belong at college. They don't have to get an associate's degree. We've got workforce training. We've got credentials. We've got lots of opportunities. But it's just keeping those lines of communication. I will tell you, that campus has been there since literally 1890. It started out as Trenton Drawing School. It was, a drafting school for the industries in Trenton at the time. I still meet people in Mercer County who don't know we have a campus in Trenton. So whenever I hear that, I go back to our marketing team. I'm like, more, because we have to let the community know we're there, and we have to let the students know we're there, and then we have to convince the students that they belong there.
Yeah, there's this old saying, and it happens at many institutions across the U.S. It's not, I worked in an institution where everybody would say it, and I was like, wow, I've never heard that before. And then I went somewhere else and I heard somebody else say the same thing. And that's, we're like the best kept secret, quote unquote. We're the best kept secret in the South, or we're the best kept secret in the state. And we all feel that way. And the scale at which we can message now is so different.
Yes.
And it gives us an opportunity to tell a more powerful story if we take advantage of all those channels. And you said at the beginning, before we started recording, I very rarely bring in things that we talked about before, but you said you're a theater major. And storytelling is a critical component of being in theater and being good in the arts. And you have to tell a powerful story. Are we telling a powerful enough story through with our community colleges today? I mean, not just yours, but as you look at the industry, have we allowed, maybe the better question is, have we allowed those that don't want to tell a good story to overtake the good stories and thus create the value perception? What do you think about that?
I think for too long we've let other people tell our stories. And I was listening to the EdUp podcast with Darian Pollard, who used to be my boss at another institution.
Hey.
Love her emphasis on storytelling. I learned a lot from her. But I think that's the problem. We've let other people tell our story, and as community college, we were the last sector probably to have foundation offices and marketing offices, because for so long we didn't think or know that we needed them, especially when, we had more secure funding sources. And by the time I think we realized, wow, people have some real misconceptions about community college. Wow, it's like that ship had sailed. So we're sort of, I think we're fighting against a tide. About 20 years ago, I was an ACE fellow. And at the time, the Lumina Foundation had paid for a series of TV commercials. And they had worked with the Ad Council. They're the same people that did that famous "A mind is a terrible thing to waste" that everybody knows about. Yeah. And they did a whole series of commercials about community colleges, and they were incredibly clever. One of them was someone's house was being broken into, and they called 911, and the responder said, well, the community college trains most of your first responders, and they've been defunded. So have you like got a butcher knife or something?
Yikes!
And yeah, they were really clever, and I remember, but no one saw them. And
right.
And again, because it takes resources to do a marketing campaign. And yep. Most of us, if I've got to choose between, a new ad campaign and an advisor for students, it's a hard choice. And we were talking today in my leadership team about, we have to invest in digital advertising, which we do, and other types of marketing to get our story out there, or we're just sitting here hoping the students find us, which is just not going to happen.
Back in the old days, I worked in the for-profit sector. This is where people hit the Darth Vader music when I say that. But the reason I always bring it up is because in those days, for anybody that was watching, for-profits grew very quickly. And some of them, they didn't have some of the ancillary services that a regular institution might have, like sports and so ever. So engineered more like a community college in many ways. And I tell people my marketing budget was 20% of gross revenue. 20% of gross revenue. So one of the schools I worked with, we grossed like $100 million a year. So I had a $20 million, $22 million marketing budget. And it's like, you can do a lot with that. You can do it, and you can grow really fast. If you have a $200,000 marketing budget, it's a whole lot harder to grow. So I'm like circling back around. And to your point, although community colleges maybe didn't have marketing departments as quickly as other schools and these other departments, what they did have first was the strength of workforce training and workforce pathways, and being able to train is the best pathway. Graduates who are working, is that the best marketing messaging right now, or is it both? And
it's both. And what's important to remember, and because you make a great point, but what's important to remember is that not all states had comprehensive community college systems. This is my third state, my fourth college, my third state. There are some states, and New Jersey is one of them, where the community colleges started out as transfer institutions, not as anything to do with workforce.
Like a junior college, you're saying?
Yes, exactly. And we have unlike when I was in Maryland, where they started out comprehensive from day one. And so there was equal time and attention and understanding of credit, non-credit workforce transfer. In New Jersey, we are a little bit late to that workforce game, and some of us have caught up faster than others. There are barriers. We don't get any funding from the state to support our workforce programs in any meaningful, consistent way, whereas other states do have that. So on the one hand, yeah, we hear a lot about workforce. On the other hand, we're struggling to, startup programs cost money, and equipment for workforce costs money. And we recently joined the state of New Jersey, the 18 community colleges. We joined another project by the Lumina Foundation, which is designed to support the idea that 75% of adults will have a college degree or sustainable, life-sustaining credential by the year 2040.
Epic.
And so we went up to a national convening with 12 other states working on this project. And, some states have really robust funding to support that initiative.
Yeah, they do.
And some states don't. And that's a real frustration because, we see what needs to be done. I don't think anybody is out there saying, oh, that's a terrible idea. Don't train people for jobs that they can then, build upon to get even better careers. I mean, we all think it's a good idea. We're just, we have been lucky to have a couple of corporate partners that have really supported us. But yeah, it's not easy.
It goes, you know what? It's the same conversation when you were just talking about, do I hire an advisor or do I market? Like, do I start a workforce program because the community is demanding it? Or do I take those resources and put them to an associate degree that already exists where I might be able to retain 15 more students and have students that have a higher degree? I don't have to hire any more faculty. I already have the courses. That is almost an unfair choice to have to make, isn't it?
It's crazy. And in community colleges, we of course try to do it all. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't apologize for that. We try to do it all. So we increasingly, at least in New Jersey, are turning to corporate partners to help us fund startups.
Are they willing to do it? Are they going, yeah, we'll do this? Is it literally a convincing process? Is it like fundraising at this point where you're having?
No, mostly they come to us and they say, we are desperate and we think you could help us. This has happened twice since I've been in New Jersey. At my previous college, I was the academic vice president, and LabCorp, the one that tests your blood, they have a huge facility in the county where I used to live, where they test people's blood. And they started looking at the data about the age of their workforce and the rate at which they were going to retire and how much they needed to expand. And they came to us and they said, look, we desperately need more lab technicians. We will pay the startup costs to get you going. And they made good on that. And then here at my current institution, also in partnership with my previous institution, the pharmaceutical companies, particularly J&J, Johnson & Johnson, started coming and saying, look, we have all these new technologies that rely on clean rooms, and we need, we've got the PhDs to work in the clean rooms, but we don't have any entry-level technicians, who know how to clean it, who know how to keep the HVAC working correctly so that there's no germs in the air, who know how to do the protocols. And when they try to hire people, the training and the investment is just really wearing on them. So this is another case where they came to the community colleges and they said, please, we need this. Let us help you set it up. And, they were good for $1 million so far. So that 3 community colleges, one of them had a building sort of underway. They were able to build a building. Another community college was able to convert a lab, and we were able to purchase a trailer, like a tractor trailer, a really big one. And it is set up to be a clean room. And we use the J&J. Like an 18-wheeler? Like a giant? Yeah. Really? Yep. Mm-hmm, yep. Like a giant 18, however many feet that is, a big trailer. And The foundation helps support it, our college foundation, and now we have this clean room. It's not the top level clean room, but it is a legit clean room. And so we're starting certificate programs where students can build and then go work for J&J or other biopharma. There's a lot of biopharma in this part of New Jersey. So we would not have been able to do that without corporate support. There's just no way.
You know, the question is, and I don't know the answer. I don't know if anyone does, but if you're a legislator in New Jersey and you're thinking about funding something, do you go, well, they're just getting money from the business community, so there's no reason for us to fund that? Is it almost like, I wonder, is it become like we're just depending on businesses to do these things now? You know what I mean? I mean, I guess it's just my curiosity. If you decide,
no, that would be terrifying. I honestly, I don't think we're there yet, because I don't think that business has been able to fund anything and everything we need. I mean, so far it's very niche. So I think that I don't. Let me just back up. I have no idea what the legislators in New Jersey are thinking about, because I don't understand why community colleges are underfunded in New Jersey. And that is supported by data. That is not just a bitter president's opinion. We are among the lowest in the country of per student funding for community college students. We're usually 47th, 48th, 49th, depending on the year. It's disheartening. It's disheartening because we're such an important piece of the economic viability in New Jersey. And we've done the economic impact studies, and we can prove that every dollar you invest comes back, tenfold in tax revenue, 5 years from now. We're struggling. We're struggling to make the case, which sort of goes back to the storytelling and the marketing and how do we break through?
Also, that and the pipeline for 4 years. I mean, all of the other institutions in the state, the publics that are benefiting from the community colleges, preparing students to succeed in college, where if they had gone straight to the 4 year, maybe they wouldn't have done so well. So there's that preparation point, because I know that's just the pipeline is so critical, keeping students, prepared mentally. To your point, it's so much of it is confidence building. We're building the confidence of a student to make them realize they can do it. And then they go and they do it. We're not saying, retention isn't just about saying you have to come to class, or, it's about saying you can do it. That's the big difference between real retention. In my mind, there's a big difference between a 4 year, well-off, highly endowed university with educated parents who take their educated kid and put them in school. That's retention. There's one way to do retention. There's another way to do retention is the student has no money, and they broke their snow shovel because they had a storm, and they can't buy a new shovel because they have no money. And so they decide they can't do education. I can't go to school anymore because my shovel broke. That's a whole different level of retention, isn't it?
And it's real. It's real. And we're very fortunate at this institution that our foundation realized a few years back, I can't take credit, but they realized that helping students succeed in college was more than scholarships for tuition. Yep. And so they looked through their budget, and they pulled out all the unrestricted money, and they set that aside. And so when a student is about to get evicted, when a student's car breaks down and they don't have any other way to get to campus, when their childcare, flakes out and they can't afford a different, childcare center, they come to the foundation, and we have been very successful in supporting those students. And again, that's one of the messages I wish I could get out. I mean, I worry that there are students out in Mercer County who think they can't come to college because they can't afford it. And we've got financial aid, federal, state, and foundation money. And it just kills me when I hear students, thinking they can't afford to come to school because for right now, knock on wood, we've got you. Come, we'll help you figure out, we'll help you pay for it.
Tell them like it is.
I'll tell you that I think the part of the problem is that we take, when we say higher education, it groups everyone together unfairly. And so somebody comes out with an article and says, higher education is way too expensive. It's grossly overfunded. It's, administrative bloat. Everybody's making too much money. And
That's right.
It's like, well, sometimes schools are just paying what they did 10 years ago, by the way, because they just can't get more funding. But the reality is we don't say this sector is doing this and this one's having this. We just lump it all together, or at least a lot of the writers lump it together. And that creates that it's real easy to listen to a negative message and a whole lot harder to sit and listen to positive, isn't it?
You're right, because we don't differentiate the sectors. And whenever I hear those stories, it makes me crazy because the stories almost never include the percentage of decline in real dollars of state support for higher ed.
Yeah.
Which has just gone down and down and down. And for some reason, that's never considered when they say, well, why is tuition going up? It must be that they're spending poorly. It must be that they're, doing crazy things
Too
with
many
the
pizza
money.
Parties.
Yeah, too many vice presidents, too many this, too many that, and you're just like, and I actually had a faculty member at my own school say not long ago, well, 20 years ago, we had half as many administrators, and I said, oh, okay, that's probably true. 20 years ago, you didn't have Title IX enforcement. You didn't have to have an entire IT department to support every student and every employee of the college. There was no expectation back then that you would be feeding and clothing students.
Yep.
That, I'm sure, things were different a long time ago, but they're different.
That's a good point. I mean, you look at the number of things a college or university has to keep track of. We have artificial intelligence coming like a freight train right now.
Oh my goodness, yes. If all I had to do was keep faculty in classrooms, I could do that a lot cheaper.
And teaching the same way every day for history, right? Because the minute you change any of the teaching and assessment, you create a whole new infrastructure that you have to support. So the only way to do that is to do nothing.
Attention.
It's time to register for Lucian Live, April 19th through 22nd, 2026 in Denver, Colorado, advancing infinite possibilities. And it's higher education without limits. Don't just keep up with change, lead it. Higher ed leaders from around the world are coming together at Lucian Live 2026. Across 4 unforgettable days, you'll discover new ways to meet students where they are and make the most of your technology through inspiring sessions and hands-on demos. Together, we're leveraging AI to create deeper human connections, support every student's journey, and open doors to lifelong learning. See you in Denver. Register now at elive.elucian.com. If you work on a podcast in higher ed, this is your event. Higher Ed PodCon, the world's premier conference for podcasting and higher education, is coming to Cuyahoga Community College in Cleveland, Ohio, July 16th and 17th, 2026. Spend 2 days learning strategy, content, and technology from people who live this work. Get details at higheredpodcon.com. It's going to be
legendary.
Right?
I mean, chalk is
Yep.
cheap. If that's all we needed was, that would be one thing. But it's and I also think that higher ed has to take some responsibility for the glacial pace at which we like to make change. I always think we could do better. My favorite, I made up this analogy years ago. It's my favorite. It's what I call it, the cupcake analogy. So, cupcakes, everybody likes cupcakes, right? Cupcakes are fabulous.
Yep.
No, cupcakes are a disaster. And here's why. So you can't eat a cupcake really without smashing the icing into your face.
True.
Now, some people go, oh no, you cut it in half and then you turn it upside down. Okay, stop. Cupcakes were invented for the convenience of the server. You hand a kid a cupcake at a birthday party. You don't need a plate. You don't need a knife. You just hand the cupcake and you go. Sometimes I feel like that's what we've done in higher ed. We've set things up for the convenience of the server.
Yeah.
But for the person trying to eat the stupid cupcake, and the worst part is we've convinced them it's fabulous because everybody loves cupcakes. Like no one wants to admit, because you just sound ungrateful, that your cupcake just went up your nose, right?
Yeah,
it's
and
not
no one
good.
will like you if you say that you don't like a cupcake.
Exactly. So, and I was thinking of some concrete examples and I'll probably get defunded for saying this, but, take, for example, the online FAFSA form.
Yeah.
So that was set up ostensibly for the convenience of the students. No more paper forms. It's fabulous. Well, I was helping the daughter of a colleague fill one of these out. They're a nightmare. They are a nightmare. I have a PhD in English and I'm the president of a college and I am trying to fill out this stupid form going, beats the heck out of me, right?
Oh no.
Yeah. So I'm like, I bet, I think there's so many things that we claim we're doing for the students that I don't think they're helping. And the sad thing is we've sort of beaten them into submission. We're like, no, you like cupcakes. No, you like 8:00 classes. No, you like coming to school 5 days a week. No, instead of really, and to the point that I don't even think if you ask them what should be different, I'm not sure they would be able to tell us because we've just made them accept it the way it is. I worry about that a lot.
First of all, I love this conversation because I think about that all the time. I do the evolving consumer. And
yes.
when I talk about it, and I do keynotes and stuff, and I talk about Blockbuster and Netflix is how I put it together. Right.
Yep.
And I tell us, you know the story, you had Blockbuster and when you had VHS and you would go to the store with your family and Blockbuster and you'd rent it and there'd be candy there. And it was sort of like an experience to go pick a movie off the shelf.
Yeah.
Then I grew up in upstate New York. Sometimes there was 6 feet of snow and we were like, should we go to Blockbuster or shouldn't we? And eventually Netflix came along and said, well, just an easier way to do this. And so it wasn't that they provided a better model because movie theaters still exist. Right? People still go somewhere physical and watch a movie. They just don't go get it at Blockbuster. They made Blockbuster irrelevant because they brought something different to the table, gave consumers a new way to think about it, and it just made that model, which was still powerful and is today because movie theaters still exist, but it made an at-home experience different. Now, that doesn't say that every school should go to Netflix and do online learning. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with a consumer saying, this thing is no longer relevant to me.
And that worries me a lot because if we don't figure out which pieces are becoming irrelevant and find ways to adapt to the market, we're going to end up like Blockbuster.
How do you lead in that, with your team? Do you talk about this a lot? Because there's you hit a nail on the head there. There's a really big difference between saying an institution, a president, anyone saying we're student centered. We make decisions with the student first and doing it in practice because so much is designed to prevent you from doing it. Right.
Yes.
The catalog, some policy somebody created that doesn't even work there anymore. All
it's
that
maddening.
kind of stuff.
It's maddening. And we do talk about it, but and this goes back to some of my graduate research and like ideological constructs that it's when you've lived in a particular ideology your entire life, it is very, very hard to get outside of it to see, and here's a cliche that I know everyone's heard, but I just think it is so powerful. And I always remind my team, there was a man on the moon before there were wheels on suitcases. So there are obvious things that we ought to be doing that we can't see, that we're just like, and how do we do that? I mean, I think we have to I think there are organizations that help us. We send people to EduCause. I think they're very forward thinking, and that's helpful. I think AI, if we just accept that there is no fighting AI unless we want to be like Don Quixote, we just need to go with it. I think that's the only way we're ever going to break out of this mindset and see what really needs to be done. And it's like, it's like trying not to, you can't sit in a corner and say, okay, I got to think of a different way to do education. Like nothing's going to come to you.
Yeah.
And so all you can do is try to be out in the world and listening and thinking and talking. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever got, and I haven't used it in any magical way yet, but was think about two different industries and how you could combine the best of both of them.
Yeah.
And then that might give you some ideas for how to break out of your rut, the rut you don't even know you're in.
That's a good point. It's like the whole, I said it here and it's been, I think, well documented, but you walk by the coffee stain on your carpet every day because it becomes normal and you don't even see it anymore. And then somebody comes as a guest in your house and walks in. First thing they say is, oh, look at that stain. And you just go, oh my gosh, I never even noticed it.
Right? It just became part of the scenery.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's a good point because higher ed will become, we see institutions closing. We see that they're scrambling and scratching and clawing and how do we get wheels on the suitcase before we start shooting people to the moon? I like that example a lot, by the way.
It's just, and again, it's just trying to find ways to, you've got to talk to new people who seem like they might not have any relation to higher ed. I don't know how else to do it. I talk to, I have a daughter in college at a university, and I talk to her sometimes. I'm like, what do you think about this idea? And she, I'll think something's a great idea. And she'll be like, who cares? Why would you want that?
Lunacy.
Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, never mind. But we've got to talk to the students more and help them sort of unlock what would be truly helpful. What would be really useful.
It's funny, but that you're talking about your daughter. I was talking to somebody yesterday on a podcast who said kids today refer to those living in the late 1900s. Like,
yes.
That's the way they say.
Yes.
That's the way they say it. And I hadn't heard anybody say that before. And I was like, oh God.
Yeah. For people born in the 1900s, that's how my daughter refers to me. And for a while, she was trying that okay boomer thing. I was like, I am Gen X. You just stop right there, young lady.
That's right. Big difference.
That's right.
Gen X is like the last gritty generation. It's a whole
right?
thing.
Do not even go there with the boomer thing.
For those of us alive in the late 1900s, we have seen a lot, and AI does present a new wave of ways that we need to rethink on how we do things. Maybe much more in a much more positive way, at least foundationally, than COVID did. Right? Like COVID made us reimagine how we do things in a negative, out of crisis. AI, some say it's out of crisis. Some faculties certainly do, but I think for most of us, it's like, how do we accept this world dominating thing and figure out how to put the wheels on the suitcase, right? I mean, how do we catalyze what we're doing through technology? That's something that maybe gives us an advantage in higher ed to be a little bit more nimble.
No, I think we should be thinking about that. And here's, you mentioned COVID, which was obviously a pivotal moment in higher ed for all of us. But the thing that is maybe one of the saddest things about COVID, I'm not sure what we actually learned.
Yeah.
When we came out of COVID, I was somewhat optimistic. I said, the one important thing we learned in COVID is that higher ed can move quickly.
Yeah.
Because that was always the excuse. Well, you can't rush, everything, you can't rush. I mean, we all pivoted in 2 weeks. If we could do it then, we could do it now. But I don't see anyone doing that. I mean, I feel like we did it, like you said, because we had to. And now we're back to saying, oh, everything takes forever in higher ed. Well, clearly it doesn't have to. And the whole AI situation, and this is again where I feel a little bit at a disadvantage at the community college, because even implementing AI takes money.
Money, yeah.
Yeah. So when I go to the ACE fellows conferences, and I'm fortunate to have colleagues who are presidents at big 4-year research institutions, and they talk about, the $20 million they've allocated to an AI startup fund, and the research grants they're going after related to AI. Yeah, and I'm thinking, wow, I sent one VP to a training thing because that's what we could afford.
And they better bring back those receipts too.
That's right, damn it, or we're not paying for your coffee. So yeah, and where I think it's going to matter the most, well, obviously it matters a lot to the faculty. And as a former English professor, I will say that I don't have the sort of visceral dislike of AI that I know some of my colleagues do. I think it can be a really great learning tool. I think it can really level the playing field in a lot of ways that I like. And in some ways, I don't feel sorry for us in English. I mean, the math professors had to deal with this when calculators came out, 40 years ago. Yeah. It's like, you figure it out. But I keep reading references or hearing references to how you can use AI to streamline your back-end operations, and you can save money, and you can and I keep trying to find someone, tell me how. Like I need a AI finance for dummy presidents, because I don't have the money or the bandwidth to, and so I have this constant fear that, oh my gosh, we're falling behind, we're not going to keep up in AI. So I'm sending VPs out to do various trainings, and I'm trying to figure out how we're going to stay caught up. It's challenging.
Can I tell you, I think that, by the way, you're like in my head. You got to get out of my head. I don't know who I was talking to, because I do this every single day. I interview somebody. Sure. But I was telling them that AI, and I truly believe this, it's the easiest thing to say that you know something about and don't actually need to know anything about it, right? So, for example, somebody could say, well, I'm really having trouble figuring out how to do figure out a workout. Well, you could use AI for that. Or, somebody says, I'm really having trouble, learning how to podcast, and I don't know what buttons to push. Oh, you could use AI for that. Now, doesn't mean I need to use AI myself or know what the heck, what program to use, what prompt to use. But I can tell you should use AI for that, and immediately sound like I know what I'm talking about, and absolutely know nothing. And that's then right. when you try and go, and someone tells you that, like, improve your back-end operational efficiency, and you go, in your mind, you're going, what exactly are they talking about? What program? How should I use it? Where do I find it? How much money is it? And is it free or is it not? Do I have to put in a Google link? Do I have to sign up?
What are we doing inefficiently that it can do more? Like,
tell me exactly what the heck you're talking about.
Right.
But they actually don't have to know anything. So I can literally go and do keynote presentations about AI, running back office operations, providing student chatbots. It's like, show me exactly what you mean and how it works, because most of them aren't that great right now.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? You could sound like an expert and know nothing.
And the people who are intimidated by AI haven't really jumped in, because you've got to be a critical thinker to use AI, because it does spit out garbage. Yep. And this idea that it's going to take over, only if we don't pay attention to
that's right
to what it's telling us, because it is a great tool and it's not always right, and it's not always I think we need to be learning how to use it in all the different ways
and have the time.
And who
Right.
has the time? Who has the reason? Yeah, it's really it's a challenge, but it's not one we can ignore. We cannot close our eyes and hope AI is going away, because definitely not happening.
Well, we want to be sensitive to your time. We ask our guests the same two questions to close out every episode. By the way, this is a great conversation. I could talk to you forever. What else do you want to say about Mercer County Community College? Anything at all on your mind? Anything you want to plug? Anything coming up? Anything you want to say?
I think I want to say that and I've sort of said this already, but I want to come back to it. We're very, very interested and excited in working with the other colleges in Mercer County. So we have an interesting higher ed ecosystem. We have sort of what I call one of each, except no tribal college. We have a private, we have a public 4-year, we have an online institution, public online institution. We have us, community college, and we have Princeton University. And we have finally started talking to each other about how we can collaborate. I know it sounds really crazy, to make pathways all the way from workforce to maybe PhD at an Ivy League, and that's where I think we have a unique opportunity that I don't want to see that opportunity go to waste. And especially in terms of how we can help improve life in Trenton. I think that, we're down there mostly by ourselves. The online college has a presence down there, but they don't have any in-person. And what I find frustrating is that other colleges will come in and try to, instead of doing it with us, they'll try to do it instead of us. And usually it doesn't work out, because they get down there and they're like, wow, we don't even know how to do this. This is harder than it looks. So now we've started the conversations. I'm like, look, come to Trenton. We welcome you. Give us the first 2 years. We will crank out amazingly prepared, excellent students to continue on. And so that's one of the things we're trying to work on. And yeah, I mean, just the fact that we are really trying to bump up our workforce training, and even that, you have to be sensitive. I met with a group of faith leaders in Trenton, and they said, Doc, they call me Doc. They said, Doc, we don't want all of our kids in Trenton to be forced to go to trade school. And I said, that's fair. You want your kids to have the opportunity to get associates, bachelors, masters, doctorates. You can't pigeonhole students and really serve them well. So that's the other thing that we're looking at. How can we bring in more corporate training, but how can it coexist or serve to stack with, traditional associates, bachelor's degrees? Because we want everybody to have the same opportunities. We don't want we want to track students too soon.
Love it. What do you see for the future of higher education? What's on the horizon for us, Debbie?
Oh, I think we're going to shrink. Not only because the demographics are shrinking, as we know, but also because there are other entities out there doing, especially workforce training. I won't say better than we are, but in more targeted ways than we are. And everybody, knows about training that you can get from Adobe or from Google or, and that's good training. And so I think we've got to figure out where's our niche, because community colleges used to be everything to everybody. And I don't mind that, but I also think there are pieces that other entities are going to take from us. And maybe that's okay. If they can, we just want it done well. If they can do it better than us, great. You work on that over here. Let me work on this over here that you can't do. So I think we're gonna see maybe a lot more differentiation even than we have now in what we're able to offer, especially at the community college level.
Well, you said a lot, Debbie, and I have to tell you, if you're listening to this and you need to get something out of this conversation, I don't know what else to do. I guess we have to do another hour. A really, really great conversation. I thank you for your insight and your honesty. I hope you had fun, too.
I loved it. You know what? I love talking about my college. I believe in higher ed. I'm always happy to chat about it.
Here she is, ladies and gentlemen. She is Dr. Deborah Preston. She's president at Mercer County Community College. And you know what you've done? You've just EdUp'd. Ellucian Live 2026 is taking place April 19th through 22nd, 2026 in Denver, Colorado. Advancing infinite possibilities. Turn innovation into action with AI-powered solutions, student-first strategies, and a global network of fellow leaders at Ellucian Live 2026, higher education's premier global technology conference. It's going to be
amazing.
Let's go.
Higher Ed PodCon is where higher ed podcasts stop being side projects and start being powerhouses. This July 16th and 17th, we're taking over Cuyahoga Community College in Cleveland for 2 energy-packed days of strategy, storytelling, and tech built just for higher ed podcasters. Registration is going to happen fast, and you do not want to hear about this conference after the fact. Grab your spot now at higheredpodcon.com and lock in your registration today. It's going to be
legendary.